A team to Soweto, where they'll monitor adherence to lockdown regulations. Operations such as these are continuing around the country to make sure people are abiding by the restrictions to try and curb further spread of the coronavirus. Our reporter Nozintombi Miya is in Soweto to give us the latest. A very good morning to you, Nozintombi. What are you observing where you are?
Well, thank you so much to you, Desiree. We're here at the Baragwanath Mall in Soweto, where it seems really like it's business as usual. And you quite rightly said that the Provincial Commissioner, Lt General Ellias Mawela, is leading a law enforcement program here to try and make sure that there is compliance and that taxi drivers are abiding by the rules and that people here are also abiding by the rules. And he joins me now to talk a little bit more about this. Thank you so much for joining me, Provincial Commissioner. What did you find when you got here this morning? There seemed to be quite a bit of a fracas.
Yes, when we arrived here this morning, we find that there is still a high level of non-compliance. People, they just gather, they sit together there, taxi operators sitting, chatting together. They don't observe the social distance. That's one area. And we have also seen that there's nobody who's coordinating the passengers to say that, they must maintain that social distance. So while we are enforcing the regulations, we also use the opportunity to educate them. It is important for them to observe the laws, the regulations, and also to maintain that social distance. Because this virus, if you don't do it like that, it will spread. And you can see that this taxi rank, there is a hype, it's busy. And some other people, the high level of ignorance. There's a high level of ignorance. I think that education, we need to enforce it in this space.
And you're quite right when you talk about enforcement. And it's not just about enforcement, it's also about the education, like you rightly said. It seems as though people are aware of the situation, but they are not willing to comply. How are you going to deal with the issue of compliance? Talk to me a bit more about the issue of education.
Yeah, you see, we need to use our position to influence the other people. You understand? We are leaders in different levels here. So whoever is influential, even if you can convince 3 people, it's enough for us. And then these 3 people, they'll convince another 3 people. And then at the end of the day, we'll convince a lot of people in this space. So it is not about you can convince 100 of people before you. One person whom you convince, and then you make him or her aware that it is important for us to observe the regulation. It is enough for us, it's an achievement.
And talking about making sure that you uphold the regulations, punitive measures will also be put in place. So people will be punished if they flout the lockdown regulations. What kind of punishment could taxi drivers face, especially if they are overloading their passengers by more than 70%?
Yeah, you see, the traffic officers, they may decide what fine do they give to them. But according to the regulation, they say you'll pay money or 6 months, you find yourself in jail, 3,000 or 6 months in jail. So traffic officers, they still apply and enforce the laws regulating the traffic management. So they can still give a taxi operator whatever kind of a fine they want to do.
We saw earlier some of the law enforcement officials physically taking the goods of some of the sellers here, and there seemed to be quite a lot of unhappiness with regards to that. Just tell us, why would you be taking their goods, and how did you explain to them that what they're doing is against the regulation, or did you check their permits?
Yes, the officers have checked their permits, and then some of the goods which were removed here, they are regarded as non-essential, so they are not allowed to cancel those goods in here.
And what are you going to do with regards to people disregarding the authority of the police? And this is an issue that we're seeing not just in Gauteng, but across the country, where people seem to be disregarding the army, the police, Metro Police. What is your message to people with regards to working with the law enforcement officials and ensuring that they comply?
The choice is theirs. If they decide to disobey the regulation, they'll find themselves behind bars. In Gauteng, we have already arrested over 15,000 people. And even in this space, there are lots of shops which are already closed. There is a lot of people already arrested. But you are not here just to arrest people. We want the people to observe the regulations because of it's to the best interest of this country. So we encourage our people to can observe the regulations. Arresting, let it be the last resort. But there's no way that we're going to allow people to disregard these regulations. We'll enforce the laws.
Provincial Commissioner, you're saying 15,000 people alone have been arrested in Gauteng.
Yes.
And what infringement is this been for?
Majority of those are those who are failing to confine themselves in their private space. Those who are dealing with liquor, selling those non-essential things. You know, all this range of disregarding the regulations. So over 15,000 already arrested.
Provincial Commissioner, this sting operation, or this operation that you'll be having, is not just at Bara. Just tell us a little bit more about where it's going to be and how it's going to unfold for the rest of the day. Obviously, this is part of the Operation Mulao that has been, yes, Okai Mulao, that has been ongoing since the beginning of this year.
Yes, today myself and the MEC, we are here in Soweto. But remember, Gauteng, we have divided it into 5 districts. We have Tshwane. There is operation currently running. Roadblocks all over. People, they're already complaining, yeah, we can't move, whatever. In Ikuruleni, the same. In Sidibeng, the same. In the West Rand is the same. So we are out. All police leadership, all the law enforcement commanders, we are on the ground today, working with our foot soldiers to ensure that we stamp the authority of the state.
Thank you so much. We're going to leave it there. We'll catch up with you a little bit later, Provincial Commissioner. Thank you so much, Lt General Ellias Mawela, just giving us an soundbite and an update about their operation, not just here at the Bara Mall in Soweto, but throughout the whole of Soweto, and ensuring that all the 5 districts in this particular province of Gauteng are complying and that there are law enforcement operations, roadblocks. We've heard from the Provincial Commissioner that 15,000 people have been arrested since the beginning of the lockdown for flighting various lockdown regulations. And this is a very concerning number. And the call again for people to ensure that they stay home, they stay safe, and they assure that they comply with the lockdown regulations to avoid either getting a fine or getting arrested. Desiree.
Nozintombi, thank you so much for that update and talking about distancing, personal distancing, and people staying at home. Let's take a look.